Morning, folks. Councilman Rasmussen here, coming to you with an update from the Tuesday this week, the 22nd meeting of the Smyrna Town Council. So our meeting was on Tuesday this week, or this month, I guess, this week, because obviously President's Day was on Monday, so we rescheduled. We just push all the meetings back one day. If you're ever looking at the calendar and trying to figure out, our council meetings are the first and third Mondays. If there is a holiday on that Monday, then we just push it right back to the next Tuesday. So you can see those pretty easy, just in case you didn't know that. So big items from the meeting last night, and sorry it was a late night with a number of conversations in the executive session, so I didn't get to post this last night, but maybe you folks will see it this morning. I'm going to hit the highlights from the meeting. The first thing, and we talked about this both from a report from one of the council members, Councilwoman Gott, as well as at a report from Jeremy Rothwell from the town staff about the progress and the process for the town master parks plan. So I mentioned this in the last update. The town has begun an entire process to create a new and updated master parks plan that encompasses all of the park facilities that the town has. And there's actually a number of them, right? The George Wright Municipal Park is the largest park in the community. There are a few pieces of property that are adjacent to George Wright Municipal Park. One that is within the town's purview right now, one that's going to be given to the town, a couple pieces that we've actually purchased in the last year to expand that park area. So certainly the biggest of them, but then there's Green Meadows Park, which recently got a new basketball court. There's Lake Como Park where the beach is, and there is a process underway to hopefully expand that park a little bit through some land that the state may be able to provide for us. There's Sunnyside Park, which also got a new basketball court recently. And then there are a couple of other spaces that are unimproved at the moment. There is what we call the Mill Creek Park or Mill Creek Open Space, which goes along Mill Creek on the east side of Route 13. And there are a couple of other pieces of property that the town owns that are potential parkland. So this process has got started at the beginning of the year. There is an entire website or a page on the town's website dedicated to this where you can go and see all this information in a lot more detail. It is smyrna.delaware.gov/masterparksplan. And I'd encourage everybody to go take a look at it so you can see some of the details. Right, there's a flyer, which, because I'm on reverse, because everything's going to be backwards that I hold it up. But on that flyer, if you happen to see one of those, there's a QR code that'll take you to that website. We're going to try and get these out to as many places and as many people as possible. But just to give you an idea of what the process looks like, so right now we're in that data gathering phase. The steering committee and the consulting firm that were brought on to do this, which is Lardner Klein Landscaping Architects, they've gone around, they visited all of the different park places to get an idea of sort of where things are, what the current amenities are. We are currently gathering feedback. So I've posted this up and I'll post it again. There is a survey available that you can go online and take. It takes about 9 minutes to do. There's a number of different questions that are part of it. Some of them are like kind of what are your current usage? How often do you go to the parks? How do you get to the parks? Like walking, driving, bike trails. Which parks do you tend to go and visit? What are the activities that you currently do there? And what are the activities that you would like to do in the parks? Ultimately, we want to look at the amenities we have and say, all right, these are great things. We need more of this. Or here's something we're totally missing that we would love to have as part of this. One of the things I put online is I like disc golf. Right? We don't have a disc golf course in town. So that would be something that I would love to have be part of that conversation. And we'd encourage everybody to get out there and put as much detailed information on there as you can. We're going to try and get this out to school districts, to families. The voices that often don't get heard in town planning activities are those of younger folks, people who They're families who are working during the day. They're families that have lots of activities that are going on the weekends, and they don't have time to come to planning meetings in the evenings. And we want to make sure we try and capture those voices, because in the end, those are the folks who actually use the parks the most. So we need to do everything we can to get that sort of outreach done. The town's going to be pushing this out. We've asked the school district to push this out. We've outreached to all of the major community organizations, sports clubs that work with youth and their families to try and get this survey out to as many people as possible. There's also a public planning meeting. This is going to be on March 12th, Saturday, March 12th, at the Citizens Hose Company. It's from 10 to 1. The agenda for that sort of breaks down each one of the park areas, and there's going to be big maps. There's like an opportunity to like kind of put puzzle pieces into those maps of what amenities you'd like to see at the different parks. And I guess there's some like activity with some strings to like sort of show how you get to and in and out of parks. It sounds like it'll be a little bit of fun for folks who get to go. That will be another great data collection opportunity for the firm that's going to be actually designing this this plan for the town. So the more input, the better. Please let folks know. Complete the survey on the website. There's actually a button. If you go on the Smyrna website, there's a button. There's one of these little round buttons right down on the home page that you can click on. That's going to take you to all this information as well, and a link to the survey. But the general process here is, so data collection is underway right now. There's going to be some presentations in the summer about some of the initial findings and what the components are that are of interest to people. There's also going to be a conversation this summer about what we would call safe routes to the park, which is, do we have the sidewalks? Do we have the bike paths? Do we have those amenities that actually allow people to safely get to and from our parks efficiently? And then ultimately, by this fall, we will have a draft plan that will be presented to council and reviewed and ideally approved by council. The reason why this matters is it will help guide development or redevelopment of our parks for a very long time to come. It helps us go out and try and reach, either find grant funding or access loans if there are projects that we want to undertake in our parks that we ultimately need to finance. So this process guides a lot of investment that ultimately helps shape a community amenity that will be here for decades and decades. So it really matters that we get as much input from as many people as possible. Share it if you can. Make sure you fill out the survey, and if you can, come on March 12th from 10 to 1 at Citizens Hose Company in the new banquet hall. If you haven't seen it, it's quite beautiful. And participate in every way that we can. There will be more opportunities to participate, hopefully, along the way, but this is a big one, so get out there and do it. So that was a lot of actually what we had a discussion about during the council meeting. A few other items that came up, a couple of more kind of housekeeping items. So there is an election this year. There are actually my at-large seat is up, as well as I believe it's District 1, Councilwoman Gott's seat is up for re-election. Part of that process is we had to swear in the Board of Elections. So these are the folks who actually, for the town, oversee that process. So that has been, that was done last night. We appointed our tax assessor, something we do every year, the people who are in charge of making sure that our property assessments line up and are up to date. Tyler Technologies is the one who we've used in the past. They're also the ones that, if you've seen people coming around doing the statewide reassessment, Tyler Technologies is also the ones doing that. They've done it for the town for a number of years. Probably the biggest, the most professional firm out there. That's why the state's using them. That's why we use them. Two little things that are they're important, but they're something that we also do every year. So one is there are a number of nonprofit organizations that come to the council for funding. And we budget these. They're folks who we hear from throughout the year, and we make sure that we include some financing in the budget. So two of them were awarded last night. One is an award of $10,000 to the Smyrna Clayton July 4th Foundation. For those of you who might not know this, The town does not put on the fireworks. The town, either Smyrna or Clayton, we do not put on the parade. This is the July 4th Foundation that does all this work. Now, we help fund that through the support that the town can give. In this case, that's about $10,000 a year. And then ultimately, it's funded by the members of our community, right? When you send in your request, your donation to get flags put out in front of your house or your business. I think I just sent mine in last week. You've probably gotten those in the mail. That helps fund it. Any donations or fundraising that they do throughout the course of the year really helps put on one of the best sort of community events that we have, which is the July 4th fireworks event. Not the town. We get this every year. You know, why didn't the town do this? Why didn't the town do that? Ultimately, the town doesn't do these things, but the Smyrna Clayton July 4th Foundation is the one who puts it on, and I think they do a great job. The other one was the Duck Creek Historical Society. We made them a grant of $4,000. Actually, was $2,000 from 2021 that we did not get allocated to them, and then it's $2,000 from 2022. The Duck Creek Historical Society operates the museum and a number of programs here in downtown. Really cool little place if you haven't gotten a chance to go out and visit it. They're also going to be this year the alcohol sponsor for all of the First Friday and Smyrna at Night events. So the funds that are raised through the sales of cocktails, beer, wine, spirits during Smyrna at Night and during the First Friday events that we're planning for this year, those will also be funding streams that help to go and put a little bit more into the Duck Creek Historical Society to allow them to continue to offer some pretty cool programs and make sure that they upkeep some of these cool cultural amenities that we have in downtown. So check those out too. We had a little conversation about this is something that I have brought up and a couple other council members. We are going to be building a new water tower on the north side of town. It's part of making sure that we can provide utility service to future development on the north side of town. The site for this is just north of Parkview RV. It's a piece of property that is all right along Route 13. The new water tower is going to be, to me, one of the very first things that people in our community or people see when they see Smyrna. When they're driving down Route 1, if they're heading to any place south of here, they're getting off of Route 1 to come into our town. And so there's some interest. I don't know where this will ultimately end up, but there is some interest in trying to do something a little bit more unique with that water tower. Maybe most of the water towers in town are sort of a light blue and they have the word Smyrna on it, or they might have like the Smyrna Eagle. The question was, you know, is this enough of a billboard that we might want to do something different, something more creative, more inviting that can tie into trying to attract more people to come check out Smyrna. As a business owner, I hear this all the time. People never even think about Smyrna. They don't get off of Route 1 since the Route 1 bypass was built around town. And folks come downtown. I had some people in here at the distillery last weekend from Wilmington who had no idea that there was a cute little downtown and that there were places to eat and drink and have a good time in our downtown, that we had an opera house. And so getting a chance to share those things is fantastic, as it can possibly bring more folks and more traffic and more business to our community. Maybe something like a cool water tower helps, get a couple more people off the road. So the council discussed it. There was no action on it, but it's the start of a process to see whether or not that's there's some there. The biggest thing that we probably did from an impact on individual community members from last night was actually approving new boundaries for the election districts in our community. So this is something required of us. Every 10 years when the census is done, the town is then required by the following February to implement new election districts. To make sure, basically the goal here is to make sure that the election districts are balanced for members of our community. You don't have, one district member representing a huge portion of the community, and it tries to make sure that there's some geographic consistency between those districts. The town staff put together a few options for us to consider a few weeks ago. I mentioned this at our we had a special meeting about this. I mentioned this in the last update. And ultimately, there were two potential proposals that members of council wanted to see put forward for a vote this meeting. So the maps are a little bit tough. I sat down and went through those two proposals in a lot of detail. Spent a bunch of time trying to figure out what the pluses and minuses, the pros and cons of each proposal was. In the end, the option that I liked, which we were referring to as option 2, I think created a pretty fair distribution of people within the community in each one of the three council districts. You're allowed to have a little wiggle room, right? It doesn't have to be exactly equal number of people per, but the guidelines are that there should be a deviation of no more than 10%. For option 2, we have a deviation of about 5% between the districts, which is pretty well in line with what we would consider to be pretty fair. The other option that we had, option 3, one of the potential districts was out of line a little bit more by about 13%. But the idea there was that if we see substantial growth in the southern and southwestern part of our community over the next 10 years, it would even its way out. In the end, I would rather see election districts that map up to the community we currently have and ultimately make those changes in the future if that growth does occur. Because had we drawn district lines about what we thought the town would look like 20 years ago, we would have some pretty lopsided districts right now. We know that growth, while it happens, doesn't always happen as people anticipate. So in the end, option number 2 was the one that was adopted by council, a vote 5-2 to adopt it. I think it creates a nice geographic consistency for people in certain areas of town are grouped together pretty well. The lines are always a little bit weird trying to find, okay, well, do we go down this road or what do we use? In the end, we tried to stick to major roads in the community. Up Carter Road, using the lake as a boundary, going up Main Street. Those are the type of things that you try and do to just create a little bit cleaner lines. Most people won't see a change in their district, though there are, certainly folks who will see a change in their district. The immediate impact of this actually will not be felt until the next election cycle, or at least significantly until the next election cycle. That's when I think more of the changes, because of who will be up for re-election, will be we'll see a significant change then. Because the next election coming up in April of this year, there is some change in the folks who will be in District 1, which is Councilwoman Gott's district. She's up for re-election. There are a few people who will be moving into that district for this year, but the more significant changes will happen in the election in 2023. So that was a big piece. We also had a conversation, which is sort of an ongoing conversation, about some of the staffing needs that the town has. As we continue to grow, there's more and more work that needs to get done, and the municipal staff needs additional support to do it. We've had a conversation about adding on additional municipal worker positions versus a parks and recreation sort of coordinator position that would be more focused on the park management. In the end, we're going to come back to it. I think that there's obviously this parks master plan could end up with a lot of work that is targeted at parks and a lot of planning and implementation. But at the moment, the plan is still under the design phase, so it seems like the majority of energy from the council was around let's add on the capacity from the municipal worker side this year and look at what our true needs are likely to be next year and going forward when we begin to think about what a parks and recreation or a community outreach person, something like that, would look like. So always more to do. And then there was, we had a couple of executive sessions last night, which will ultimately be things that come to council eventually, but aren't fully baked yet. So that's the big stuff. if you have any questions or anything along the way, obviously, please let me know. Reach out. I'm happy to discuss the things that I can. And again, the Master Parks plan is in process. If you have not taken the survey yet, please go to the town website, click on that button, take the survey, share it on your Facebook page, share it with everybody that you know. This is a huge opportunity for our community to provide input into something that will impact the quality of life here for potentially decades. So we need as much input on this as we possibly can get. That's all I got for today. Let me know if there's any questions. I will check, and thanks for everybody paying attention. Hope you have a great Wednesday. Take care.